Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. And this opinion's going to be a strong one. This is going to be a hot take, kind of. But I think that the Clippers need to press reset. I think they need to clean the house. I was not confident in the Clippers last year. I was not confident in them this year. I'm just going to call it what it is, man. The Clippers don't have enough, and I don't think they have the cap space to make anything super crazy happen where the team's going to get any significantly better than it already is. They had some bright spots. Terrence Mann was a bright spot. Reggie Jackson was obviously the most consistent player for the Clippers during this series against the Phoenix Suns. Ivanka Zubac is pretty good. DeMarcus Cousins, I get why they signed him, but he's not what he used to be. I understand signing DeMarcus Cousins to maybe hope and pray you get Sacramento Kings or New Orleans Pelicans Cousins again, but that's not really going to happen. Luke Kennard was pretty good. Patrick Beverley is, it's Patrick Beverley. Nicholas Batum was basically a trash can from three during the series. Rondo, he only played 3 games. He didn't start for any of them. But for me, the defining factor with this series against the Suns for the Clippers, the defining factor for me was Paul George. And for me, it's kind of like at this point, Paul George cannot be relied upon to go out and win you a game. That's what I learned from this series. Paul George is one of the most inconsistent players in the NBA. And as a Pacers fan, it pains me to say that because I wish we still had Paul George, but he, requested a trade, went to OKC, then he left OKC to go to the Clippers, and he still has not gotten the ability to close out games. In Game 4, he missed 2 really clutch free throws that could have at least won them the game, and this game would have maybe went to, 7 games maybe. But he missed 2 extremely clutch free throws down the stretch in Game 4. And not for nothing, but you don't know what Paul George you're going to get night in and night out. And as a Clippers fan, that bothers me. If I'm Kawhi Leonard, that bothers me. Because for whatever reason, Paul George seems to be one of these guys that in the regular season plays extremely well. And then when the playoffs come, it's like he forgets how to play basketball. He comes out, I'm playoff P, and you get fucking pandemic P. And that's what happened last night. Paul George shot 6 of 15 from the field last night. I mean, what was it, Game 4, where he had to hit the 2 free throws to actually win the game? And because, if he would have actually made both free throws, they'd have won. He misses both of them. And like I said, you're going to get Paul George who comes out and either torches the other team or he comes out and makes up for his shitty shooting by volume, by just shooting more shots. And just to give you an idea of how bad Paul George played in this series, he shot 42% from the field, 29% from 3, and 76% from the line on 28, 10, and 5 on 1.2 steals a game and 0.2 blocks. His stats weren't bad, but the only reason his stats were as good as they were is because Kawhi Leonard didn't play, and he made up for his crappy shooting by just shooting more shots. I understand he was trying to facilitate the offense and, do a bunch of stuff. He was trying to be Kawhi Leonard, and it just flat out didn't work. Reggie Jackson is a free agent this offseason, okay? And after his performance in the playoffs, somebody's going to pay him more than the Clippers are. I don't care how much he likes Paul George, okay? After that post-game press conference or whatever, he's crying and shit. If somebody offers him a significant contract, he would be stupid not to take it, because that's probably the most money Reggie Jackson is ever going to get offered in his career, unless he takes this money and becomes the next, Kyrie Irving or whatever. But whatever money Reggie Jackson gets offered this offseason is going to be the most he's ever been offered in his career, especially after the way he played in the playoffs. He was easily the most consistent player for the Clippers, and I'm looking at Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I'm Kawhi Leonard, right, do I think we have the money? Do I think we have enough already to win a championship? And as an outsider looking in, I'm going to say no. Okay, I haven't been confident in the Clippers beating anybody since they got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And since then, it's just been disappointment after disappointment in the playoffs. And not for nothing, but Kawhi Leonard is one of those guys who has a player option this offseason. And whether or not he exercises that player option is going to determine the future of the Clippers. Because if he declines his player option, becomes an unrestricted free agent, okay, he could go to, I don't know, Miami. Okay, because I think Oladipo's contract is up. So he could go to South Beach and play with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. That'd be a great fit for Kawhi Leonard. That would be great for him. Okay, or Utah. He could maybe even, go to the Utah Jazz and make them a championship contender, because they were very close this year as well. They had a really good year. They have a solid roster. He could go there and turn them into a championship contender. Kawhi Leonard is a superstar player. And Paul George is like on the cusp of being a superstar player, but in the playoffs, he showed us exactly why he's not a superstar player. He's a guy that is a really great 1B. He's not a 1A, he's a 1B, and he's a very good 1B, but he's very inconsistent. He's great at defense, he's a solid player in the regular season, but when the playoffs come, it's like I don't know if the moment overcomes him, I don't know if he gets nervous, I don't know what it is, but you don't know which Paul George you're getting. And if I'm Kawhi Leonard this offseason, I'm taking all of this into consideration. Are we re-signing Reggie Jackson? Okay? Do I want a 1B who is either going to come out and give me 40 points and absolutely torch the other team, or he's going to come out and shoot 6 of 15 and give me 20? Okay? Like, if I'm Kawhi Leonard, I'm just going to tell you right now, if I'm Kawhi Leonard, I know Kawhi Leonard recruited Paul George basically to come to the Clippers, and he made it sound like, oh, this is what we should have did in Indiana and whatever. But if I'm Kawhi Leonard, I'm just gonna call it what it is, man. My legacy's looking pretty good. I brought the Raptors a championship. I've won in San Antonio. So it's just the idea Kawhi Leonard has a chance to be a winner and bring another championship to another team that needs that extra piece to get over the hump. And not for nothing, but Kawhi Leonard is, his resume looks pretty damn good, I'd say. And he has to ask himself, do I want to be in the conversation for the greatest of all time? Because he's not the greatest scorer of all time. Okay, to me, that's Kevin Durant. But as far as NBA resume, he has a Defensive Player of the Year award, okay? He's got, a Finals MVP, if I'm correct, or a couple of them. I could be wrong. I have to look up. But he's building a resume that could arguably put him in the conversation for greatest of all time. He's not out of the conversation. Like, he's on his way to making himself, be in that conversation. And you have to ask yourself in this situation, do I really want to waste, and I'm going to say waste, do I want to waste another year of my career playing for an organization that doesn't have the money to get me the help I need? They've tried, but it hasn't been working. And do I want to play with a guy who, I don't know, it could arguably get traded? I really honestly believe the Clippers are going to be fielding calls on Paul George this offseason for a trade. And we know that Reggie Jackson's probably not coming back. So do I want to go back to a team and maybe Patrick Beverley retires this year? I don't know. But do I want to go back to a team essentially that consists of Paul George, Marcus Morris, Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard, and Nicholas Batum, maybe? Everybody else is like on a 1-year deal. And Paul George's contract is really big. So I don't know, man. I feel like if they're going to re-sign Kawhi Leonard or bring Kawhi Leonard back, supposedly the most they can offer Reggie Jackson is like $12 million or $12 million a year in that ballpark. And while Reggie Jackson is worth it, I just feel like somebody's going to offer him more. And at this point, I feel like it's time for the Clippers to blow it up. I just do. I think it's time to hit reset. They don't have enough to compete with even the Lakers. Okay? They don't have enough to compete with the Lakers. I don't think they obviously didn't have enough to compete with the Suns without Chris Paul. So, what are we talking about, really? You know what I'm saying? Like, why continue? And I know there's going to be Clippers fans who are not liking this, but it's time to face reality. If you can trade Paul George to somebody, I don't know who, Oklahoma City, trade him to Oklahoma City and get, I don't know, draft picks for him if you can. I mean, I know Sam Presti is got enough draft picks for the next 7-8 years. If you can trade him for draft picks, or if you can trade him for some young talent from the Denver Nuggets or some team like that, I don't know who. I don't know what the market's going to be like for Paul George, but all I'm saying is Paul George is like a 1B at this point. He's on the cusp of being a 1A, but the idea that the man pretty much always chokes in the playoffs is just, it's bad. And I think teams are going to take that into consideration. If a team's going to go after Paul George, the Miami Heat would be a nice target for Paul George, considering Jimmy Butler, I think, showed us that he has the ability to take a team to the next level in the bubble and all this other stuff. But either way, Miami's a nice destination for Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. But I just feel like after what happened with the Suns, asking Paul George to carry the load for you. I understand Kawhi Leonard was out, and if Kawhi Leonard played, we could be looking at a completely different NBA Finals right now. But I just don't think the Clippers have enough money to bring back Reggie Jackson and then sign some other people to put the right supporting cast around Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. I just don't. I think it's time to blow it up, and part of me really feels like Kawhi Leonard's going to opt out of his player option and go someplace else because, like I said, his legacy is the one that's on the line. We already know Paul George is a good player. He's not in the GOAT conversation, but Kawhi Leonard could be. And, if Kawhi Leonard really wants to be considered the greatest of all time, I think he needs to seriously consider going someplace else, like Miami or Utah or someplace like that, and bringing one of these franchises a championship or being the best player on a team like that and getting them over the hump. Because that's what Utah needs. Okay, they need a solid 3. They need they have Donovan Mitchell. They have Rudy Gobert. Maybe they don't have the salary cap to get a Kawhi Leonard. I could be wrong, but Mike Conley's leaving this offseason, I would think. Or if they resign him, it better be for much less than what they currently have him for. But there's a bunch of teams that are going to be interested in Kawhi Leonard if he opts out. And he's going to have that option to go someplace else and be a fucking winner, okay? And I just feel like if he stays with the Clippers at this point, he's wasting his time. So anyway, I know this sounded kind of harsh, but tell me what you guys think down below in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on this. Like, helps me out, subscribe if you guys want to see more. This has been the Fast Break Report, and I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.